Menace to sobriety. Just a menace, just a menace. Just a menace.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live coming from Big Belly Comedy Club in the Vauxhall Podcast Studio, which is also a shipping container. Please welcome your host for today, Mr. Daniel Dapper Laughs O'Reilly.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Menace to Sobriety with your host with the most. I don't mean to boast, but it's me, Daniel O'Reilly, aka the comedian. Dapper Laughs here for your one-stop party shop for all things mental health and well-being. Thank you to all the listeners. The listeners, man, you guys are growing and growing. Not as people, I mean the numbers are growing. I think we're like 20,000 downloads a week out there, so that's fantastic. YouTube, you've got to step up your game, but thank you for tuning in. Listen, I've got a wicked guest for you now. I'm going to get straight into the intro, all right? Sit back, relax, whether you're out running, sat at home, watching on YouTube, whatever you're doing, strap in, because this is your weekly dose of mental health, well-being and all things good for you. I'm going to introduce Hayley. She's a qualified associate psychological practitioner. Psychological aspects of addiction, ADHD, mental health, well-being, all of that jazz. Right, I'm going to get into it. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce her surname. It's Hayley.
Thank you.
Hayley, what's your surname? Go on, do I go for it again?
Broughton-McKinna. My life is one big mouthful. The job title, the name,
everything. And we've let's get this a little bit closer to you, just there, so we can hear you perfectly. So me and Hayley, we jumped on. Your partner's here as well. Hello, mate.
Hello.
And
he's on the benches.
He's over there. Also with a northern bird, Manchester bird. So yeah, we were talking just before. Crazy girls, but great. And we spoke on the Zoom.
Yeah.
You love to talk. So it's perfect to have you here.
I'm a waffler.
And you wasn't sure whether you'd have enough decent well, you wanted to make sure that you had enough for our listeners, and just going
100%.
through what you do, what you've been through, who you are, what you know. You're perfect for the podcast. So thank you for joining.
Thank you very much for having me.
Why don't you tell me a little bit, or tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so as you've said, so I'm Hayley. So I currently work as a training director at the business that we started, PMAC, so like psychologically making a change. So my background, as you said, is as an associate psychological practitioner.
Yep.
But essentially, what we like to do is try to give people tools and skills and understanding, basically, hopefully before they need it. Like, we really, really try to come from like a preventative approach, just understanding, normalising things like anxiety, understanding the impact of things like trauma, understanding the impact of being neurodivergent as well. It's like having autism, having ADHD, how that impacts, people. So we do go into workplaces, businesses, because it becomes very difficult to like manage and function and stuff like that. Yeah. But I suppose in terms of like where I come from, in terms of like the work that I do, so like obviously there's a background in psychology. I've got a lot of experience. I've worked all over the shop because I've got ADHD and I can't stay anywhere for too long.
Love that. Me too. Me too.
So I jump about. Yeah. But yes, then also as well, my lived experience, I've lived with addiction, not me personally struggling with addiction, but I've had parents who were alcoholics. I myself have really, really struggled with an eating disorder and depression and been very suicidal in the past and stuff. Okay. So, so I'm always very, very mindful of like trying to bring some sort of value and use, and it not just being, rabbiting off the same old stuff there. You could get on Google in like 5 minutes, essentially. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. And it's really interesting that, there's a need for this in the workplace, because like that's great that you're going into workplaces and doing that. I guess a more happy, less anxious, less depressed workforce makes more money.
They do.
So that's good. That's good. But
also it improves like the self-esteem of the people working there. It helps them to feel like they manage better. So it's not just like from a business perspective, but hopefully going in before people end up struggling and going off. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's just go back a little bit about who you are, because I know you don't actually drink anymore, do you, as well?
No, I don't. I've not drunk for 2 years.
2 years. And how did you, was it just that it was just, because I think we kind of spoke about it on the Zoom. You didn't really necessarily have you didn't have a problem where you were like alcohol or drug dependent. It was more like it was just weren't serving you.
No. And this is the thing, like I think I just got to a point where I'm like, ultimately I'm putting a poison in my body. Yeah. And like it just, like you said, it's not really fit for purpose anymore in the same way. Like, I am impulsive enough and like hyperactive enough and loud enough without also chucking a load of stuff down my neck that makes me even less, risk averse and makes me more impulsive. And like I would, do things and say things that you don't mean or you
regret.
Yeah, 100%. But then also as well, like I didn't feel like I needed it in the same way. Physically, it was like massively impacting me. I felt like even not drinking very often. And I mean, I was never good at drinking. Do you know what I mean? I'd never developed a tolerance. I was like the cheapest date going.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was never like I was drinking loads and loads and loads, but like physically I'd struggle to tolerate it. I'd have hangovers for days. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
There was also just the fact that, to be honest, as much as I think we often associate drinking with like that feeling after the first couple where you're like starting feeling a bit more lively and you're like, yes, let's have it, let's go karaoke, whatever it is. But actually you kind of forget the fact that you carry on a little bit longer, and if you're in a bad place, you're the one who maybe then starts crying and just constantly talking about the stuff that's rolling around in the back of your mind, or you start getting aggy with people and people start kicking off and all that stuff.
Don't think about that.
No, we gloss over that bit.
Everyone's always got a person in their group that either cries or starts a fight. In mine, it was John. John, you're a crier, aren't you?
I like to cry fight.
You cry and fight.
And be like water. It's a Bruce Lee technique.
Yeah, and
he's never had a fight.
No,
I had one.
Like it, does it? With himself.
He couldn't fight sleep.
Internal.
I want to ask you, Hayley, because just before we get into the nitty gritty, we kind of touched on it when we were on the Zoom, and I thought it was quite an interesting conversation we had around the difficulty of going sober because of your friends and stuff like that. Now, as you said as well before we started the podcast, we are coming up to Christmas.
Yeah.
And I'm getting right into just out and about in general when I'm out preaching to people. No, when I'm out and about, I'm talking to a lot of people about the difficulty. Like I'm even feeling it at the moment. Like, and I'm fucking out. Like I'm 411 or 12 days or something like that sober.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
amazing.
like over a year, and I've had a couple of moments just where it suddenly dawns on me. I'm like, I'm not that guy anymore, and all my pals are doing this, and the fear of missing out, and all that jazz. I mean, it's they're fluttering thoughts for me. But first of all, talk me through what it was like for the people around you when you made that decision, and how you cope with that, and also any advice you could give to people you think for Christmas and all of that. Yeah,
100%. So I mean, like in terms of advice, first of all, I think just being mindful of and kind of predicting the fact that it is going to be a difficult time, and the fact that people are they're going to test you, they're going to push your boundaries, like no matter what reasons you have for not drinking, like they're going to throw anything at you to try and get you back on it. Like it's almost difficult for other people who are still drinking to sit with the fact that you're not. And I mean, again, like I wasn't somebody who was I'd say like stuff now and then, but I wasn't like necessarily causing a problem for people around me. I was extra annoying, extra loud, whatever. I was the full package. Win. But so like it wasn't necessarily a problem for me, and like I don't particularly need it. I can do stupid stuff just as well as without drinking. So like I thought that it'd be a really easy transition for me. Do you know what I mean? Like I thought, well, no one's gonna. Yeah,
it weren't like you'd hit a rock bottom or you were swinging a bottle of vodka when you were at work or whatever. No,
I wasn't waking up in a skip. I looked like I had, but I I hadn't actually. So I just really, really assumed it'd be like people would just accept that. So like, to be honest, it came about because I was struggling with like long COVID, and it was really just dragging out. And every time I had a drink, within the first drink, I'd notice all my chest pain flaring up. I'd be exhausted, for days and days after. I'd be in physical pain. I'd be like, I'm actually just setting off all my inflammation, all my immune response. Like I'm working so hard all week. It's just the social expectation that like no matter what you're struggling with, whether it's your physical health or your mental health, we just want to get back to like going out and doing stuff and being on it with your friends and whatever, and back in the Prosecco. And like actually when it came to it, like it wasn't, I was just feeling horrendous. And we went on holiday, like me and my partner, and while we were there we were like, it's all inclusive, we are making the most of it. But like within a day I was like,
I don't want to drink.
This isn't going to do it for me anymore. So I really just thought that everyone would be like, well,
Oh,
yeah, no,
whatever,
fine, you need to
it
get
don't matter.
better. Yeah, it's fine. Just wait till you're better. But the number of bottles of Prosecco and stuff I'd get at Christmas, and everyone, but just have a bit. Just have a bit. And I'd be like, it doesn't matter how much of it I'm having, it's still having the impact. Like, I'm still going to have to recover from having had this, as well as the fact that I'm still recovering from this as well as. And even now, like, there are still friends, family members who are like, yeah, but you'll drink now. Like,
Yeah, you'll drink again.
Yeah. Like, yeah, but just have one now. Like, it's fine. Like, let's just... And I'm like, there's only so many... You would hope and think, like, there's only so many times you have to say, like, no, I'm sober. Like, I just don't drink now. Like, I don't need it. Like, do I need to be planning all week to, like, I don't know, spend an absolute fortune on overpriced drinks in town, and then spend a fortune on takeaways the next day when I'm bedbound, and then just be a little all week and like just be miserable as well? Because I think again, we often like underestimate the impact that has on your mood, like for the rest of the week as well. As like,
what did you say to these people? How did you overcome it, or how do you overcome it now, or do you just do your own thing?
Well, to be honest, it's a bit of a mix. So like, I tend to use humour quite a lot anyway. So I'll just kind of like laugh it off, like, you know, about the fact that I don't need it in the same way. Like, I still like to go out and socialise. The challenge being that once people know that you don't drink anymore, as much as you might still want to go out and do karaoke and, I don't know, get your top off and do a bit of lasso down Oxford Street or whatever it is at 3 a.m. with everyone else. Like, it doesn't matter. They kind of don't want you around it in the same way.
I don't even get invited now.
This is it. Like, I don't get invited to a lot of places. I've come to accept that that's fine. Like, even people that was really, really close to, if there was birthdays and stuff, like, you know, noticing that you're not invited anymore, not because they think any less of you, but because it's that worry that you're kind of shining a light on the fact that, you know, maybe it's not always the best thing. It's What you when you say that you do, you know, when you say you go into like businesses and you talk about how people can improve or have the tools to work on when things are going wrong, what could you give any advice to people in anticipation of struggling and feeling lonely and feeling like a little bit feeling like a little bit left out? Because like that's something I cracked the first time around. I went sober at Christmas, and I'm all right now. I mean, I've got everything to live for. My life's beautiful, and I'm really happy. But you know, my kids and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people out there that I think really struggle with sobriety when, you know, they don't have the motivation right in front of them, like a fucking northern wife that's telling them if they, you know, if they drink again, they're getting punched. No, but like, you know, the kids and stuff like that. What sort of do you have any techniques or mindful stuff or something they can do to fill the gaps? Yeah. So I think one thing that's like really, really important, and it's like it's really key in something called like acceptance and commitment therapy, where essentially what we need to think about, or what I'm about to talk about, is like values-based living. So like, one thing that I was really, really mindful of coming here is that, yes, having goals is amazing, and having goals is really, really important, and having like specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-sensitive goals helps. Not everyone has them. No. Like, they really, really don't. And actually, if your identity has been really, really tied to your drinking and the fact that you might serve, you might play a certain role in your social groups at the weekend when you are out drinking, for example, then losing that, you're kind of losing a bit of who you are, and it's really, really difficult then to, I don't know, to, like you said, almost like have that anchor. Like, if you're saying like you're happy and you've got your wife and you've got your kids and stuff, not everybody feels as connected to something greater,
that's so
bigger. And like, actually, like, one of the reasons that I feel like it was easier for me to kind of go sober is because I do have that strong sense of purpose, because I live very, very much in line with my values.
So what you're saying is, if people don't have goals, if they don't have a sense of purpose, what can they do?
Well, this is it. So like, so when it comes to like values-based living, so the problem with goals sometimes, yes, they're amazing. I'm 100% like, I'm not taking away from that whatsoever. But goals, like, no, they kind of like delay your sense of achievement and joy. And it's like, and actually, often by the time you get there, like, the kind of you might feel great for a little bit and then it kind of wears off and it's like, well, now what? And like, what's next? And so actually it can kind of feel like never enough, and it can feel like you're chasing goals and then you reach them and then it's like, now what? And now I'm kind of back to the emptiness. Like I've been focusing on like, I don't know, doing Tough Mudder or this fight or whatever it might be.
So true.
And then what? And then what? And like people often think of like dopamine as like your reward chemical that you get when you've hit that high, but actually it's much more about like the pursuit of the reward. And once you get it, it drops off. And you know, I don't know about you, but for me as someone with ADHD as well, like I can feel everything so intensely, and the excitement I can feel in anticipation for something that's not come yet is like unbelievable. And then often the reality doesn't live up to it because I've built it up so much. So then you constantly, or you can be aiming for these things that, you know, you might have just kind of created this goal for the sake of having something to work towards in the first place, rather than it meaning anything for, you know, to you and having any,
I need
any
something.
sense of purpose. Yeah, I just need something. But actually, if we're not kind of setting goals that are in line with our values, then we do have those kind of peaks and troughs and the now what and the emptiness and I've got the house. Yeah, I've got the missus. Yeah, I've got the nice car. Yes, I'm going on these holidays, but I don't feel like whole inside. And then you're still kind of left with that void that you're trying to fill. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Hayley, I'm completely on board with this. This is really interesting. This is why I love these podcasts, because we start going down these little roads that fucking I've been thinking about, and I sort of latch onto them. And this is something that I've been trying to articulate for ages, right? Because I think especially I think especially, I don't know, maybe if it is especially for men, but I'm just going from my perspective. Sometimes when we're fucking aiming for like the big goals, like the money, the house, you know, the woman, the fucking the you know, or the pay rise or the job or our own business and all that, and we're like, right, the goal is I want the big house, I want this, You're constantly every day actually disappointed because you ain't there, right?
God, yeah.
You're not
what
there.
What have I done today?
And you're not, and you could. But what I find now is that for me, so my tiny little wins that I get in the day sort of accumulate into me feeling good. Like I do actually at the moment. I was writing in my diary this morning. I was like, man, I'm nice and chilled. Like I'm so happy. Yeah. Like I am in just a good place. And it's like I get up, get my workout in, and that is more or less the fucking aim of the day, you know. Everything else is a bonus. But if I get up, I get the workout in, I'm like, right, I've got my little win, and it feels like I've achieved something. But like what you said about the boxing, I had a big downer actually after my fight. I was like, fucking, for a couple of days. I mean, my trainer didn't want to see me till he said like take a week, and I was back on Monday, and I fought on Friday. I had to, because I was Saturday, Sunday, I was just like, what am I doing with my life?
Now what?
Because everything was aimed towards that.
100%.
So what can people do instead?
So this kind of comes back to that like values-based living. So rather than like just I'm constantly aiming for this thing and then that thing and then I need to come up with something else that I can aim for, which again, if you're giving up drinking is really important, I think, because then you need to preempt like the fact that there are going to be times where it is boredness or boredom,
but you get so much time. The
time you get back, exactly. So essentially with values-based living, I think you kind of work out like, who do I want to be? Like, so what matters to me, and essentially they serve as like a moral compass. They like anchor us. So like regardless of the goal, I can choose day to day to live in line with my value, and regardless of what goals I'm looking for and achieving, I know every day I'm behaving in a way that I can be proud of, essentially. And I think sometimes those things are really, really important when it does come to like, you know, the weekend before Christmas or Christmas Eve, and everyone's down the pub and everyone wants you to do this and everyone wants you to do that. And at that point, especially with Christmas again, like a lot of things kind of stop. So like your gym might close, for example, your work might stop. So then what? Like, how am I feeling it? How am I feeling like the emptiness, the agitation, almost like the itchiness from inside to just like do so much, you know what I mean? So like, I think like a really, really easy way is like, just kind of ask like yourself, like, what 5 words would I currently use to describe myself? And what 5 words would I like to use? Can be like a nice, easy little way to start.
Let me try that with John. No, because I want to put it in practice, because just before I do that, something that really struck what you were saying there is like, what you're basically saying as well is, if you're focused on like your moral base, was that what you said? Moral based living, like
like your moral compass, like your values.
In those
like,
times where you're like, oh my God, what you can revert back to that. You can look at that.
So.
Five words to describe who you are now.
Who I am? Voluptuous.
Oosh.
What's that? What does that mean? Like
curvy. I'm a bit curvy at the moment.
Okay.
I mean, it's meant to be about your traits.
Yeah, not what you look like.
Oh.
Fucking
I've got a fat soul, I think. No, what do I think? Let's get the camera on me. Hello, everybody.
All right. Yeah, look. Hey.
What do I think? 5 words. I would say interested. I'm interested in a lot of things.
Okay.
I would say dedicated. Distracted. I think I can easily get waylaid.
Yeah.
I get laid. No. And also, I just did it there.
Wait.
And I would say just brilliant, probably twice. Just a double brilliant.
So and now you're meant to pick what you would like to be, but it looks like you already are
I'm already
who you
there.
want to be.
I'm the self-actualized man. I'm not. I'm so miserable. No, I'm fine. Everything's fine.
All right. Okay.
But yeah,
that didn't really help.
How about you, Dan? What words would you do, Dan?
All right. So where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. If I'm honest, I'm like happy, but I worry
Okay.
a lot. Worry about the future. What's next? What's happening? What am I supposed to be doing? Am I doing
What
enough?
I'm supposed to want.
Yeah, like that's every day. I'm like, right, have I done? And I find as well, I'm going to fucking like veer a bit, but I find as well that I've got too much different shit going on. So I'm right. If I focus too much on my comedy, I'm like, right, how am my business doing? And if I'm focused too much on my business, I'm like, right, well, how's the comedy doing? And then I'm like, am I doing too much mental health based stuff? Am I being funny enough? Do you know, am I a good father?
It's that distractedness I was talking about. It's like being pulled in all these different, and it's you pulling yourself, but you're getting pulled in all these different directions. It's like
mad.
That's like how thin can I stretch?
Yeah.
But suppose if you really value being someone who's like determined and ambitious, like that,
I am. Yeah.
You're doing all of those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas if it feels like, well, what am I doing it for? I'm just doing it because I don't know. I want the missus to, I don't know, have the nice house, and I want to feel like I'm worthwhile or worthy because I've got the nice car, or because I can, go and buy something in the shop and I don't have to check my bank before I tap the card. Like what is the thing that like drives you? And I think sometimes just working out exactly who it is I want to be, like what would I be proud of myself for doing? Like when I'm 80 and I'm sat with, I don't know, grandkids, or I'm still the great fun aunt, hopefully, and like I've got like great nephews, nieces, whatever it'd be, like what would I be proud of myself for having done?
I've done that. I've looked forward, and I do that. That's kind of what helped me get sober. Was I really have looked at like who do I really want to be?
Who do I want to be?
And the truth is, it's just a good father. That is it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, outside of that, obviously, I want to be I'm already a bit minted. So, but what I mean is, like,
well done.
There's loads of stuff that I want to do and but really, in my heart of hearts, like I'm like, when the girls are like 16 or 17, 18 or whatever, or 20, and I want them to look back and be like, when you hear girls talk about their dads, I want them to be like, yeah, he was the best.
Yeah.
And when I'm older, and so it's like focusing on that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, when you know what your values are and you know who you want to be, like, it makes it far, far easier to become it. Like, you can't become the person you want to be without acting as though that's who you already are.
And it's so easy to not drink when you're looking. Not I say easy, but sorry to keep interrupting you.
No.
But no, because I'm just understanding. Because it's crazy. Because when you just say something like value-based system, my mind is like, well, what does that even mean?
Who is it?
Yeah, so you have to go through this whole thing. But you're right. So I mean, that's what I do. I do kind of do that, but I could do it more like. Saying like, if it gets tricky over Christmas, if you're feeling that, if you've got the pressure, if you're fucking angry and shit's going wrong, you can be like, but listen, who do I want to be? Because I don't want to be that guy again. I don't want to go back to that. And this is it,
like when when you've got like that strong anchor, it basically takes some of the decision making out like of day to day. So like I don't know, it's getting to the Friday and like your mates are starting messaging you and like, you've got plans with the family tomorrow and like, that's something, whatever. But like at the minute I'm getting all these raging urges and cravings and like everyone's like on it with me and we can't wait for you to get out and blah 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 blah. If what I value is being someone who is consistent, and I value being like a dependable dad, for example. Then my decision's already made, and it makes it an awful lot easier to then, but this is who I'm becoming. Like, so it kind of makes it easier for you to set boundaries with other people, and almost regardless of how they respond to them, kind of maintain that for yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because people do push you, they challenge you, and it without that kind of like anchor of like, what would I be proud of myself for doing this time tomorrow?
And I feel like a massive part of, I don't know if you were the same when you stopped drinking, because I used to drink and sesh, so like I was I was writing it. One of the big problems that I found is once you took away, I mean, like my life not drinking was like a fucking Monday morning, like Monday evening, Tuesday evening, but then Wednesday, I mean, I'm having a couple. So there were some. I didn't really know who I was without drinking at all.
100%.
So it took so long. So by trying to work out these values that you're talking about who you want to be, it is a form of like fucking self-discovery, right?
100%. And it's like, you're also not like being tied to who you believed you were before.
Right.
So like, you know, like, obviously with drinking and stuff, like you do things that you don't mean, and then the shame and the guilt and the embarrassment
reinforces that you think you're a twat.
Well, this is it, and like that kind of comes down to our like core beliefs. Like at the absolute root of it, who do I think I am? And like,
that's the big question, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? And like the thing is, if you have been a big drinker or a big seshead or, you know, whatever for a long time, you do get to a point where you don't know who you are without it. And that's a really hard place to start from when everyone's like, well, just do this or just do that or just set a goal. Like if you, I mean, I'm always like, if your advice starts with the word just don't bother. Because do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because what you've just done is just minimised everything I'm going through.
Yeah, it's like the people on Twitter that say to me, moderation is key. I'm like, fucking, if I could moderate my drinking, mate, I wouldn't I wouldn't have this fucking podcast.
Well, we have to drag my ass here on a Monday morning, wouldn't I?
But no, I think that's so important. And there's another aspect of that I don't know if this ties into it, but there's another aspect to that I've really started sort of understanding is, well, obviously one, it's fucking really hard to deal with cravings and like and triggers and stuff like that. If the person, it's like there's two people, but the person that's dealing with them, you don't even know who this person is. So you're like, well, what's the alternative? Be me? Who am I? Yeah. It's fucking really weird. So you do have to go down this road of like working out who you are, who you want to be.
Yeah.
But also, I found that I hated myself really. I mean, I would never. I was outgoing, confident. I was achieving in life, making a lot of money. You know, fucking buying a house, had the supercar, all of that. But I mean, behind in my mind, I was fucked.
Yeah.
And I kept on saying to myself, oh man, I don't want to keep upsetting her. I don't want to fuck this weekend up. I don't want to stay up all night fucking sniffing bugle. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But I'd still do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess that I started fucking disliking the person that was making the deal,
100%.
right? The person that was making the deal with myself, because I was like, you're making these deals, but they ain't working. So trying to, what was it called? What base living? It's got the
values based.
So when you start sticking to your values, do you start having a different perspective of yourself, a different view? Yeah,
so like, again, it can kind of help to shift some of those like core beliefs as well. So like, we all have like core beliefs about who I am, like what the world is like, what other people are like. So we might try and like work backwards to unpick them. So it might be, I don't know, a negative thought as simple as like, God, I've spent ages making this spag bol. It tastes like water. And I mean, I'm saying this because I got this last week. Thank you very much. Gratitude never goes amiss.
You made the spaghetti bolognese and
unbelievable.
He said it tastes like water.
He said it didn't taste like anything.
My bird would have kicked me in the dick.
Disgusting. I know. I was
He's
like,
brave.
I know. I was like, do you know who I am? But yeah, so like from that, I could then, my thoughts start spiraling and, you know, make it feel like, well, he doesn't care about me. He's, you know, ungrateful. I don't need this, whatever. But like at the core of it, if I really unpick that and kind of work out what is it that these thoughts mean about me. So like, what is it? What does that mean to me? So like, right, I've made a shit bowl, right? And then I work backwards from that. What does that mean to me? Well, it means that I'm not good at cooking. Well, what does that mean to me? That I'm not worthy of being a wife. What does that mean to me? Like, why does that matter to me? Like, well, because then maybe I'm not good enough. Oh, right, okay. And why does that matter so much? Like, well, because maybe at the core, I fundamentally believe that I'm unlovable. Do you know what I mean? So, like, actually, your core beliefs really, really shape the lens through which you see the world, and the way you see yourself, and the way you see other people, and the way you see life. And then that impacts the way that you interact with things. I mean, we all have this. We have our brains are quite lazy. We have like a couple of biases. So we have things like negativity bias, where we are, inbuilt as opposed to like focus on the negatives. Like, because the safest thing for us to do is remember what's gone bloody wrong before and try and not put ourselves through it again. And then because of that, we might start making assumptions about how other things are going to go. And we've also got something called like a confirmation bias. So our brains will kind of look for all the evidence that what we think
confirms our negative views.
Yeah, 100%. So like, if I fundamentally believe I'm a useless piece of whatever,
you'll look for things to confirm that.
100%. And like, other people can then do things without meaning to, without wanting to. So whether it is because they just keep inviting you out and keep inviting you out, and you like, those things can kind of trickle back down. So like, actually at the core of it is, I'm useless. I can't even just stop this. Do you know what I mean? So like, the core beliefs can really, really shape the way that we see ourselves, other people. Also, the problem with core beliefs is they kind of come from like way back in your childhood, and things like the way that you were spoken to, the way that you were treated. I also think, and it's not something that I've ever read in literature anyway, but like the way you're spoken about. If you're in earshot of your mum on the phone being like, oh, they're a pain in the arse, they're doing me head in, the whatever, all of those things start to shape your core beliefs. But one thing that I personally have found quite powerful is like, just knowing that means that like, they're not mine. Like, they're all, do you know what I mean? Like, if actually this is kind of my perception of me has come from everybody else, and the way everyone else has treated me, and the way everyone else has ever spoken to me or about me, then that ain't my belief. Do you know what I mean? And that's then, would I agree with that person on absolutely anything and everything else they've ever said?
And as a public figure, Dan, you're not just getting that from like friends and family. Being in the public eye, you're getting a million
100%.
Different people's opinions.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because you might be able to kind of unpick, like, actually it was, things like if my mum said this to me or my dad said that to me, and that, that really, really sticks out as like a thing that made me feel like I'm just completely useless or unlovable or whatever.
Yeah, I love this because I started reading a book recently called The Ego is the Enemy, right? And because I really wanted to drill in and hone in on why things affected me. Like some criticism really fucking affects me, man. And I'm like, I don't get it, because I'm so like, I don't know, I've got like a high, maybe that's the problem, but like I've got like a high, I don't know, not view of myself, but I believe I'm a good person.
Yeah.
But
and you probably worked damn hard to get to that point.
Yeah.
I
mean, I didn't think I was before, but like I truly believe that I'm a good influence, I'm a good person and stuff like that. And I was really trying to unpick why, and I guess that's quite similar to what you were saying. And part of it can be ego. You can have sometimes an inflated view of yourself. So when people criticize you, it's like if you can be like, how dare you? Yeah, how dare you? But if you do a lot of work on yourself and ask yourself, like what you're saying, I'm struggling to get this out, but if you ask yourself why something affects you, like you're saying, talk back from it, work back from it. And someone,
where is it coming from?
Yeah, someone be sort of like, you're a shit comedian, you ain't funny. Like I hear that all day long, right? But every now and then, just the way it's said, or so I'll be like, fucking, and I'll be like, I am funny, and I'm like saying it back to them.
Please laugh.
Or trying to think of a joke, and then I think, well, why? What is it? Because they're not accepting you, right? So you feel rejected. Why do I feel rejected? And then going back. And how can people do that? What technique can they use? Just simply trying to unpick it.
So I mean, the first thing you have to do, I suppose, is just actually recognise that you're having like unhelpful or negative thoughts. I mean, I now, hope and feel like thoughts are information, and like emotions are information, and they're only good or bad because I'm saying that they are. Do you know what I mean? But actually, just noticing that I'm having a thought that I find upsetting to have, or like that it's not helping me do what I want to do or become who I want to be or whatever it is. And like just noticing it, because I think sometimes we become like fused with our thoughts. So like, because you've thought something, that feels like, well, that's what I think. Therefore, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Like, it's fact then. So like, I've thought it, therefore that's my perspective, that's it. And actually, our opinions of stuff change all the time. This time tomorrow, I'm likely to still think as strongly and as negatively and feel as intensely about this, whoever it is on, like, I don't know, Twitter or Instagram saying you're not funny. Maybe not. Like, so actually then things are going to change. Like, we have like between 70,000 and 100,000 thoughts a day. Like, that is an obscene amount of stuff like running through your head. And if you've also got ADHD, it's not even just like one train passing through the station, but you got like a bag of bees going on, like just constant layers of it, music going on. Do you know what I mean? Like, it amplifies things, it makes it really, really intense. So like, I think you just have to first of all just notice that you've had a thought. And like, just because you've had a thought doesn't mean that that is fact, that it's even necessarily going to be your opinion this time tomorrow or this time in a week. And actually just kind of like detaching yourself a little bit from like what it means to have had that thought. Because like, I think we can struggle sometimes with like taking thoughts as facts and feelings as facts, and when the two of them combine, and the fact that, you know, this person said I'm not funny and now I'm angry and I'm or upset or anxious, and it can be all of them. We rarely feel one thing at a time. While you're absolutely raging, you might also have moments of like feeling scared or vulnerable or anxious or low or you know, you can feel a whole host, confused even, like you can feel so many different things, but like we kind of cling to it as in like, well, if you've said this and this has caused this in me, and that means that that
means it's real. Yeah.
Because
you've said it's upset me, that means it's real.
Yeah. And that you're wrong. And like, the reality is, yes, it's real that you're having
but listen, but what you're saying is what they've said may have triggered your own view of yourself because of something that's happened in the past. You've got to work out why. And also through doing the whole process of trying to work out what it is, you realise it's a thought, it's not real.
It's just just words.
I like that.
It's just words. And like, so some people find it really, really helpful to like challenge their thoughts. And like, just because I have this thing like, right, well actually, what's the evidence for this? What are the facts? Like, why does this matter? Some people find that really, really useful. Other people find it really useful to like reframe stuff. So like look at it differently. Like, oh, actually maybe that's like a bit of feedback that might be useful that I can take on. And I'm a bit like, it's cut me a little bit, but it's going to pass, and that's fine. But not everyone finds it easy to do that sort of stuff.
No. You've got to be so self-aware, and also you've got to be able to stop. You've got to live in the present. I have it with Shelley, right? My partner. There's like, I used to get the fucking raving up with her all the time. It used to piss me off all the time, right? And it was like, now I look back on it, it was because I was like highly agitated. You know what I mean? I was either hungover, anxious. You know what I mean? And I took a lot. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. When I've been running around fucking mad busy, and I walk through the door, right? And then she goes, "Oh, can you make me a cup of tea?" I used to fucking go, "Fuck me." Like, fucking hell. So what? I'll pay for the fucking mortgage. I'll give you a bit of dough to spend, right? I'll fucking do all the fucking work. Come in, you want me to make you a cup of tea? Now what I see is when I come in, she goes, "Can you do me a cup of tea?" What I see is like, she wants to be looked after for a little. That's my opportunity to make her feel better, feel nice. You know,
that's like really important, because I think one thing that we overlook sometimes is like the way that we treat other people and respond to other people and react to other people and stuff like is a reflection of the way that you're feeling. If you're agitated, you're hungover, you're shaky, you've got a dry mouth, you've got a headache, whatever. Like, and no matter what anyone else does, then at that point, because of your internal state, you're going to be up here. Everything is now an issue. And I
always used to, and it works now, because I always used to be like, "Where's my fucking like, how's your day been? And thank you for working hard. Thank you for doing. Where's that?" But what happens now is, because I go, "Yeah, of course, babe," and I'll do her a cup of tea. And when I give her a cup of tea, she says, "Come here," and then she gives me a cuddle, and she's like, "How's your day been?" You know, and all that. And I'm like, "All right, okay." You know, all I've got to do is make a cup of tea. But you get what I mean, and that's because I can take the moment, and also not take it so fucking personally. Like, we take everything.
Oh my god,
personally.
Well, we feed everything through ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, we are all very egocentric, especially when you're younger. So like, again, if your mum and dad are arguing, you're more likely to kind of assume that that's something to do with you.
Yeah.
When somebody else is short, it might be because they've had a rager of a day, they're knackered, they've got a headache, they're starving, they're whatever, they didn't sleep well last night, and you assume it's something about you. And then we do this thing where we like co-regulate and co-escalate each other. So like, if I think you've come in here and you've got your back up and you're arsey and you're stomping about, and that's what I'm thinking, I might start to feel on edge, I might start feeling anxious, I might start feeling stressed, and so then I might then, like, the things that I think and feel and do are going to influence the way that I then react to you. So I think you've come in storming, you're huffing and puffing, you've took one look at me, you've looked away, you're short with me,
But that's
I've
all
gone,
in
how's your
you-
day? And you're going, well, so like, but then because I reacted to you like that, you're then going to think, well, why's she got beef for me now?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
bloody hell, the day I've had and I've got to come on to this. So then you start thinking, well, right, so
That's basically the last 9 years of my life. It's mad. Like, if I come in, if I'd walk in and she'd go, I'm tired, I'd think, what? So I'm not allowed to be tired now because you're tired.
Yeah, and like,
it's
and
mad.
this is the thing, like, when you come in calm, like, even if she's stressed, if you know you're calm, you feel calm, you're able to manage any little bit of anxiety that might start coming up, or frustration or irritation or whatever, like, you go into it differently, you're responsive to her, you're not listening to her and think about what you're going to argue back. Do you know what I mean? And then actually, without meaning to, you can like calm each other down. Kind of.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Intentionally.
the key to the point of that whole conversational piece there is sort of analysing why you have responded to that like that. You know, you don't have to just. And I'm a big one on this. You know, I'm a bit, and this really does tie into sobriety for me and triggers of sobriety, because I learned quite a lot about my mind when I was battling my triggers early on, because I decided under no circumstances am I drinking again. No way, I can't. I'm going to fucking lose the kids and that, right? So when the triggers were coming up, there was like no ifs, no buts, no nothing. I had to sit with them, and it was like, you know, the sunshine or bank holiday weekends, or just fucking walking past a pub, or being in London when it's dark, or fucking whatever, just an advert for travel to Colombia or Sank. I'd just be like, whatever. Do you know?
All inclusive.
Anything like that, you know, or just speaking to an Albanian person. Being like, I need my dealer was Albanian.
Oh, right.
But you have to. No, but what I'm talking about, just to be serious for a second, is having to sit with that, you know, the trigger, and then starting to see it like as a trigger, and then like sort of talking my mind out of it. I did kind of lean that towards against negative thought loops as well. Like wondering, like, because I used to get in situations with, I'm ranting a bit now, situations where something would piss me off, and then it'd just be like going. Like now I can see that, and I kind of do that, but maybe not as going as far back to like really why, I can feel it and go like, well, come on, man, and try and talk myself out of it. So good. Listen, we're running a bit short on time. I know that you bought a few key pieces, like because I love giving like chunks of info or things that can help.
Little bits.
Anything you want to chuck in before we go?
Yeah, so I think if you are really, really, really struggling with like, you know, like raging what feels like urges, I think one thing that's a bit of a challenge is like people try and like just sit with it and wait for it to go, and in the meantime, like you said, you're like rum, like just thinking, and it's really, really hard, like especially as well, like there's a lot of overlap with like neurodivergence and addictions like ADHD and autism as well. So like actually the fact that you then experience things more intensely anyway, and your thoughts are going at a faster pace, it makes it really, really difficult to then just kind of try and sit with it.
Sit
and
with a craving, you mean?
Yeah,
like,
to like the like that
urge.
Yeah, like just takes over your whole body, doesn't it? Like, so like actually sometimes the easier thing to do is just do something. Like if everything in your body is telling you to do something, just do something. Do something else.
Like
so,
a run or...
Go for a run. Like I will literally like get the bed in and just absolutely waft it, like throw pillows like it's medicine balls, like go outside, change your temperature. If you're really, really hot and stressed, like that again feels like confirmation that this is bad. Do you know what I mean? So like change it. Like go splash cold water on your face. Go stand outside barefoot while it's Baltic.
Actually do something to battle the urge.
Something, yeah. And
instead of sitting there going, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking drink."
Yeah. And like just kind of notice your breathing. But the other thing you can do is like something called progressive muscle relaxation. Have you done that?
No.
So like essentially when you're stressed and you're tense and you're anxious and you're whatever, you're angry, like your body tenses up. Like that's one of the things that happens. So like if you intentionally tense your body as much as possible, when you release it relaxes. So like take your hands, so like imagine you've got like an orange or something in your hand and you're trying to squeeze until it pops, and like tuck your arms by the side of your body and like just squeeze everything, like really tense it, like until you feel like you're shaking it. It's like this is a lot. You can do it with all these parts of your body. So at the point it starts feeling like genuinely uncomfortable, like oh my god, I can't do this, we'll count to 3 and take a deep breath in, and as we breathe out we're going to let it go. So like 1, 2, 3, and then and like you genuinely do just start to feel a bit more relaxed, and you can do it with your whole body. But like I think just trying to sit with and override urges, and just sometimes doing mindfulness can be like it can just be the wrong time to try and do that stuff, and then it feels like, well, it's not helping and nothing's going to help and I'm not going to feel any better and I need to just do this, and it is a need. But the thing is, like, emotions aren't musts. Like just because you're flooded with this right now does not mean that you must act on it. Like it might be easier to act in some sort of way and just do something. But don't, you know, like this time tomorrow, that urge will have passed. This time in a couple of hours, that urge will be different. It might be starting to come
moments.
down.
It's moments.
Moments.
Do you know, forgive me if I'm wrong, but did you suffer with an eating disorder? Did we say, was it?
Yeah. So
that's got to be the hardest urges, but or the opposite. I don't know how that works.
Well,
for you.
yeah,
Sorry,
and like this is the thing. Like it's also really difficult this time of year, Christmas, if you've struggled with addiction, you've got an eating disorder. Not only do you know that there's going to be triggers everywhere, you also are well aware that everyone's going to have eyes on you and seeing what you are doing, not doing, how stressed you seem, and then because they're like worrying about you being stressed, they're coming over to you and stressing you out, and like it's an absolute bloody nightmare. But yeah, so like when I was younger, I had anorexia, really quite severe. Spent about 18 months in hospital. I was tube fed.
Wow. I'm sorry you went through that.
No, not at all. And like I was very, very, very suicidal, and I was very, very, like my thoughts were very rigid. So like it was very all or nothing. It was, you know, like similar, I imagine, to like with drinking. Like you can't just have a bit. You can't just. It was either like I don't eat at all or I've completely failed. Do you know what I mean? Like it was very, very, very like rigid.
Is that sort of what spurred you to find out more about your thinking?
Yeah. So I mean, to be honest, like all the things that kept me ill and like really maintained it, like the being stubborn, being well, I say stubborn, like being really, really determined. I had an argument for anything anyone could say about how it was destroying my life, how I was dying, how I was, you know, I really was quite unwell. I was the first person in the hospital that was in that had ever been sectioned, and that was a bit of a mare. And so all the stuff that was keeping me ill was then the day I decided to get better and have a life outside of this was all the stuff that helped me to get well. So all the things that are like keeping you ill can also be the strengths almost that help you to kind of move forward.
Those character traits that were negative.
Yeah, it's not about, and this is the thing, like there's neither positive or negative, it just is.
I was going to ask, you say the day you decided to get better, was there something that shifted in your mindset? How did you make that first step?
So like I literally, so again, like when I say that, you know, I was quite unwell, I was told by the doctors and stuff like I wasn't going to live to be moved on to adult services. It was like, you are going to spend the rest of your life in hospital. It's whether or not you live long enough to be an adult in one. And yeah, just one day, because I used to go away with like my friend over like Easter, and like we'd be with her family and stay in this big house and stuff. And there's basically one day where like my mum was away somewhere and I wasn't going to get a visit from her. My best friend was away and I could have been there with her. And I just thought, I literally just woke up one day and I was like, for one day, if not a week, I could have been happier. Like, it don't mean that everything's fine. Doesn't mean that nothing's ever happened before. But for one day, I could have felt different. And I'm not going to get that here in hospital with somebody watching me all the time. Do you know what I mean? So it literally just kind of
clicked.
Yeah, and then that was it. And like I said, then all the stuff that had kept me ill was all the stuff that then helped me to get better and stay well. So actually the fact that you feel like, or people tell you that you're too stubborn or too rigid or too determined.
You can use that.
You can use it. Like, we're not saying that these things are bad necessarily, but like we've said, just knowing, especially at this time of year, that things are going to be difficult. If you know it and you expect it, you can plan for it. You can literally right now write yourself a letter of everything you're going to need to hear the moment that those urges kick in and that you feel like you can't manage them, because you know better than anyone what you're going to need. You know better than anyone what someone can say to you that's going to help. And the chances are other people aren't going to meet that need. So like, can I now in advance write literally a letter, send myself a voice note, record a video of me telling me everything that I'm going to need to hear to help me to stay sober for the next couple of hours until the urges start to pass, for example. And then when the time comes, it's there. And like, you've already kind of give yourself that little safety net. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. What interesting. Man, listen, you should be so proud of yourself. You've got so much knowledge there that obviously you're putting to good use. And before we wrap it up, anything else you want to finish on, or you know, and where can people find you?
Yeah, so they can find us at literally at PMAC Mental Health.
We'll put the link in, the link in the YouTube.
And
Jump
just
on
like
YouTube.
the only thing I would say is like, nobody is ever written off. Do you know what I mean? Like, not everybody makes it, sadly, but the only time that hope's lost is when you're not here for things to change. Is inevitable. Do you know what I mean? And like, actually sometimes it is just holding on through those hours and days and
Listen, you remind me a little bit of myself, except for you're a female. Right? But you do remind me of myself. One, because you're a little bit potty, but in a good way. And you could like, you know what I mean? You're like me on the packet. You could just talk.
I'm a waffler.
Yeah, but it's great. Yeah. But everything that you're saying has got such substance, and you've got the best advice because it comes from a place of overcoming pain, right? You've overcome a lot of pain, and I think that it goes to show, you know, it's a great. I mean, it's difficult what you've been through, but it's a great position to be in order to advise. And one of the big things that I took from this conversation with you, I know we had so much more to talk about. We might have to get you back, but one of the big things that I took from it is I've already forgotten what it's called.
Gone forever.
No, where you said you got your moral based. No, what was it?
Oh yeah, just like your values based.
Yeah, living.
Yeah.
So I really like that, the value based living. I feel like the most difficult thing through, and I mean, this is a sobriety based podcast, and a lot of the stuff that you were talking about is so true. And trying to work out. I mean, it's so difficult to work out who you are. How do you even start that journey? And I think that by simply trying to work out who you want to be is a great way to start.
Yeah. Because it doesn't necessarily always matter like who I've been before. Yeah. But like, who do I want to be? What would I be proud of myself for doing? And then I know how to act. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But also, like, just one thing on that is like, if the thing that you're valuing the most isn't necessarily serving you right now in the same way, it's okay to kind of prioritize another one. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So like, for example, like I really, really valued being determined, but what it meant sometimes was that I was staying in situations that weren't good for me. Good for you, because I was trying to prove that I was determined. So actually, I'm just focusing a bit more on like the fun and the humour, and like actually then that can be, it doesn't mean it's not there, but it just means I can be determined to try new things and see what else works. You know what I mean? Yeah,
you could be in a business, have a business, or be in a job role or a relationship, and you're just 100%. Determined to make it work, but it's not serving you. And I think that a massive part of being happy is liking yourself. Like I can take I can take certain criticism I didn't used to be able to take, because some of the criticism I'd look at and go, it's kind of true. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. And like that's the thing, like your core beliefs can change. Like they really, really can, through like you challenging your thoughts, you replacing them, you doing the things regardless of how you feel at the moment. It doesn't mean like, you know, because I'm anxious, I won't do this thing. I'm going to do it regardless because it's going to pass, and I want to be someone who's brave or whatever. Like they can change, and your opinion of yourself fundamentally can change. It's all doable.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you.
That was lovely.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to put your Instagram and all your jazz, and people can reach out to you. But I didn't really know where this episode was going to go, but it's like,
Same.
Yeah, it was so good. It's like a non-stop. It's like a one-stop shop for changing what you think of yourself and moving forward in a positive way. And there was so much stuff that was based around Christmas as well, which is perfect for us. John, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I thought that's a really, really interesting point that you brought up about the value-based living. Now, obviously, the hard thing is to really kind of work out what your values are, and that, for a lot of people, that can take, a better part of a lifetime. But it's something to strive towards, definitely. And yeah, I kind of really agree with that. So
love that, John. Love that. Thank you for coming.
Thanks
and we'll
so
maybe
much.
see you
Have a nice
again.
Christmas.
Why? You're a lucky man, my friend. I mean, your ears, not so much.
Can we film that?
Yeah.
Can we record that? Thank you very kindly.
And the spaghetti bolognese.
It's all right sometimes.
Thank you for coming, Hayley. All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. That was another episode of Menace to Sobriety. I'm your host for the most, and that was great fun. Make sure you share. Make sure you comment. I'm going to try and reply to all the comments on YouTube. Have you stopped filming or something?
No, that camera's just died for some reason, so give it to this one.
Okay, yes. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Menace. This episode's been wild. Leave us a comment. Sharing is caring. Listen, if you know someone that can benefit from anything that we've spoken about, please tag them in the comments or share the video to them, sending it. You really, stuff like this is brilliant for changing your perspective on who you are, on what life is, what it means to you, and where you're going, where you're moving to, man. There is a happier, better future for anyone out there that's struggling. There's always sunshine after the rain. Love you guys. Bye-bye. Oh, yes, and don't forget, if you want to come and see me live and meet me, I'm going on tour. The Daniel O'Reilly Out of Character full UK tour kicks off in January 2024, and tickets are on sale right now. I'm going to try and get out and meet as many of you as possible, and of course, I'm going to be bringing the laughs all over the UK. There's 23 dates right now, and I'm adding more all the time. Hit the link in the bio and get your tickets now and come have some fun. If you're going through a tough time at the moment, please don't suffer in silence. Feel free to pick up the phone and contact any of these helplines. I personally, myself, at one of my darkest points, contacted the Samaritans, and it completely changed my outlook and got me out of a really deep, dark place. A problem shared really is a problem halved. So if you don't feel confident talking to those around you, check out any of these organisations and give them a call. This is my Facebook group. Just simply search on Facebook, Men and Their Emotions. It's for men only, but once you're in there, you can talk anonymously about your problems and help others and just feel a little bit of community. So come join the conversation, Men and Their Emotions, on Facebook. Thanks for watching.
Menace to sobriety. Just a menace. Just a menace. Just a menace. Menace to sobriety. Just a menace. Just